Good evening. My name is Mark Shawnee, and it's Thursday, April 7th, 2011. I'm here with Father Earl Mullins and Butch Willard of St. Barnabas Church in Sykesville. And good evening, good afternoon, guys.
Hi.
I was wondering if you could give us just a history of the church and when was the church founded, and give us an idea of the formulation of the church here in Sykesville.
Well, Butch has just done a survey of all of that recently, so he's the person to take the lead with it, and I'll fill in any other gaps or whatever.
Thank you. Sure. The Anglican Church was, of course, founded many years ago. But in Maryland, one of the earliest parishes was Old St. Paul's Parish in downtown Baltimore, and it was founded in 1692. And to play it forward from there, as Maryland grew and the Anglican Church grew, and this was all prior to the Revolutionary War, so did the then Anglican parishes. That one of the first things that occurred was in 1742, St. Thomas Parish was founded in Harrison Forest, and it was to service people as a chapel of ease, so that at more convenient times they could attend services without traveling into downtown Baltimore. Later in 1771, yet another chapel of ease for the Anglican community was founded in what we now call Eldersburg, Maryland, just up the road here, and that chapel of ease was called Holy Trinity Chapel of Ease. It's our mother church for St. Barnabas, and of course St. Thomas prior to that, and then St. Paul's prior to that. But in 1771, the local citizens of Eldersburg petitioned the Bishop of Maryland, the Anglican Bishop of Maryland, to form that chapel of ease, and many people, including Abel Brown and other local citizens of note, formed that church, and the church was built. People attended church, and in the early 1800s, James Sykes came to what is now called Sykesville, then it was called Horse Train Stop, and built a cotton and grist mill. And as the community grew in what's now Sykesville, it became apparent that we needed an Episcopal church in our community of Sykesville. And the Frasers, or the Warfields, George Fraser Warfield and his wife Rebecca Brown Warfield, and their children, notably Susanna Warfield, pictured over our shoulder here, petitioned Bishop William Whittingham to build a chapel of ease in Sykesville. And in fact, that's what they did. And the St. Barnabas Church was built circa December 1850, and it's still in use to this day.
And it's always been an Episcopal church?
Yes.
And does the church have any off-site locations that are not like contiguous to the church itself, but separate facilities?
Well, the building we're sitting in now is what's known in our community as the St. Barnabas Parish House. It actually was built in 1865 by the then only physician in town, and it was built for his son-in-law. It was soon to become the Miller Merchandising Store. It's also been a firehouse for the town of Sykesville. And in the late 1940s, the parish of St. Barnabas purchased this building, and it's been their parish house ever since. But the building obviously has a history long before.
And how many rectors have there been in the history of
At St. Barnabas, I'm the 26th rector, so there was 25 prior to my being called here.
And what's the usual time that a rector spends with the church?
Well, I've been here since my first day was Easter 2000. It was just great. The first Easter, the new millennium, it was a thrill. The answer to the question, that's hard to say. It's throughout the Episcopal Church, they say the kind of the best length of time for a rector to be in a place is around 12 to 13 years. That's usually considered the most healthy block of time. Some rectors are at a place 4 or 5 years. I know one rector who's been at their parish for 30. So there's a wide range. It's hard to just say a specific number.
Gotcha. And when do you guys hold weekly services?
On Sundays, presently, we have an 8 o'clock service, which is called a Rite 1 service, more of a traditional service. And then our main service is at 9:30. And that's a Rite 2 service. It's more of a contemporary service.
How many church members do you have, roughly? And is this number growing or decreasing?
Well, membership is kind of a hard thing who is a member gets complicated because people who come twice a year, some people very much consider themselves a very active member of that church. Then you've got people who are here every single day. We've got about in the neighborhood of 70 pledging units. That means a pledging family generally. For instance, Sunday attendance 2 weeks ago was about 91. But the total membership, if you add all the concentric circles together, it's a sizable parish. I mean, if everybody showed up on the same Sunday, we would not be able to seat it. The seating capacity at St. Barnabas is approximately 125. We've actually had services where we've had 130 or 135, but that's with lots of kids sitting in parents' laps. But comfortably in the neighborhood of 120, 125.
All right. And do you do Sunday school?
Yes. Following our 9:30 service, we have church school here in this building, and there are classes literally all over the building. We have what we call a Sunday forum downstairs for the adults. The average attendance to that can range from 15 to 30 people. But it's usually in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 adults, and then there's see how many classes? A class here, 1, 2, 3 here, 1 downstairs for the children's classes.
And what age range do you start doing Sunday school with?
We began with nursery age. Not the really young kids, but more like toddlers, age 3, and not.
If someone wanted to join your church, how would they go about that? What would be the best way to go about that?
They attend. One does not have in the Episcopal Church. It's participation and relationship that's essential. So by the fact that someone attends church regularly. The canons of the church would say that to be an official member, one would have to take communion at least 2 or 3 times a year. I can't remember the exact number. To give monetarily, to make a contribution to the church personally. Really, that's the criteria. Within our parish bylaws, voting membership is really shaped by, again, 3 communions a year that someone gives something. It could be $1 as long as we have record of that. A person also is asked to pledge, but that has to be recorded, and it has to be 16. If you're a voting member, you have to be 16 years or older. But we really consider everyone here, regardless of their denominational background, to be a parishioner at St. Barnabas.
And do you accept parishioners from other faiths or sects that might want to convert or come in?
Oh, absolutely. It's just not an issue at all.
Anything else that you guys wanted to talk to us about?
Just a couple of interesting notes.
Sure.
I mentioned James Sykes earlier. James Sykes was the founder of Sykesville, and the building and the grounds that the church is now located on was donated by James Sykes. And in the Bishop Whittingham's notes from 1850, it talks about he visiting with James Sykes in Sykes' house, and the congregation walked across the street to the church, and there were 200 people in attendance. And if you can imagine 200 people in 1850, that would have been a lot. And if you see the inside of our church, if you can imagine 200 people even being close to President, I don't know what they did with them, but Sykes was really neat. Also, the Warfields, the family of the Warfields, and particularly Susanna, she was really interested in evangelism and education. She left half of her estate when she died to the Episcopal Diocese, and for the creation and the building of the Warfield Academy for Boys. It was an Episcopal educational school. not far from here, right in town, and it actually operated and taught young men in the values of the day. But there's a long legacy of faith and community in this parish specifically, and in St. Barnabas as well.
And I think what's important to note is that when they had the celebration of the opening of the church, that was a huge community event. You almost had the entire community of them. All those were not members of the parish. It was a huge community celebration of establishment of the new church.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, very much. All right. I'm back here with Father Earl Mullins, going to talk to us a little bit about the outreach that St. Barnabas does.
To preface the outreach piece, one of the things about an old historic parish like ours, really our parish was founded in 1771, the building in 1850, as we said before, and we love and value and honor that history. It's a part of our identity. But the Episcopal Church is clear, and as this church is clear, that it is our ministry today and shaping the future that's really what the church is about, and that a church that's not about outreach at its heart is really not about being the church. Being a community of outreach to the community is absolutely essential. As I said, the Episcopal Church in our parish are very open, very inclusive. Any and everybody is welcome, regardless of their faith, background, or lack of faith for that matter. Everybody's welcome to come in and worship. Relative to outreach in that context, the outreach that this parish does is extraordinary. Without exaggeration, the outreach here would be twice more than many parishes twice its size. Yearly, there's all kind of projects. Historically, following Hurricane Katrina, we had 52 people who came up the Fort Meade area. The parish house downstairs was completely filled by donations for those families. Everything getting ready for Christmas, from bicycles and toys to furniture to cookware to appliances. And I cannot remember the number of kind of half semi-trucks we did. There was at least 2 or 3. And I just don't remember. It's some time ago now. Also, on a monthly basis, we are involved with what's called the Feed More van in the inner cities, some of the poorest sections of Baltimore. We have teams of 2 or 3 people that go in monthly to help people literally on the street. There are stops, and there's all kind of people. And yes, while some of those are addicts, either alcoholics or drug addicts, the great majority, in fact, are not. These are poor working people, are people who are unemployed. There are many women with their children there, whole families, and to look at them could not be that much different than we are. And Eleanor, you mentioned another ministry area. I'm just blanking on. But anyway, at Christmas, yes, and at 9/11, for instance, we had one of our clergy staff to go to New York to be involved with that. And during Hurricane Katrina, we had people who were part of 2 teams that went down and worked for over a week each to build to restore houses, to clean houses. An amazing experience. I was down there twice, and we had about 5 of our parishioners at one time or another who went down there as well on 2 separate trips. Yearly, every Sunday we have baskets, or nearly every Sunday we have baskets of food that come up for the food banks. Obviously, like many churches, at Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, those major times, all kinds of things are gathered. We're involved in what's called the Escape Ministry, which is a local ministerium ministry here. We prepare at least close to 100 bag lunches once a month to take to another church that acts as a gathering place for many people who come there to eat. Some people, and a lot of these people are either retired on very limited incomes, and food is an issue for some of those people, and of course just people who are extremely poor. They're just some of the things, but I'm always amazed, and I don't do this. It's like it's the parish that does it. They do it on their own, and I can't even think of St. Barnabas without thinking of its commitment to outreach.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.